Coming up, authorities respond to an overturned tractor trailer on I-44.
Summer is officially upon us, and now we got some temperatures that are going to reflect that. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And four-staters head down to the river to enjoy the water and the summertime sun.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
I like how our incomparable director, Tim Aronson, letting the squirrel usher in our summer. And don't try to pass the buck, Tim. It's squarely your fault on that one. Tanya, 4:14 was the magic time this morning. 4:14, summertime. There you go. Well, why was it that exact time? Well, you have to remember, we have to have the summer solstice, and it marks that day. It makes it the longest day of the year, and officially, that, I don't want to say 45-degree tilt, but that tilt that we get there from the Earth and whatnot, as far as and its distance from the sun, it was at 4:14, marking the beginning of summertime. And so here we stand at the 5 o'clock hour, 71 in Joplin, 75 in Chanute, still below 70 south of I-44, 67 in Monette, 69 in Neosho. I'm fighting it again today, folks, but I'm headed in the right direction. At least I'm not whispering this morning. Skywatch Storm Tracker. Clear as can be, whole lot of sunshine today, a little low pressure system beginning to develop out there just on the east side of the Rockies, stretching from New Mexico to be up through the Panhandles and then in through western Kansas. It'll begin to make its way toward us, but not until we get back in to the 90s once again today. As a matter of fact, you're going to notice the humidity return compared to what we had yesterday. Boy, yesterday just turned out to be absolutely gorgeous during the afternoon and evening hours. So it's going to be, number one, a little bit hotter today, but number two, a little bit more humid. Then as we progress into Wednesday, left-hand side of your screen, that's that system we were just talking about as it makes its way through in time for early Wednesday morning is when it begins. And then we get a little bit more widespread, especially for the northern section, all the way through Wednesday. Wednesday's got sporadic rainfall throughout, kind of dry off there on Thursday, and then still looking at a scorcher of a weekend. High 90s on both Friday and Saturday.
All right. Well, it's going to be hot. And you know what? If it is officially summer and we have the squirrel, then we need to bring back the squirrel on water skis.
Yeah. What was his name? Snappy? Good call by you. Mm-hmm. The squirrel's got a name. And I can't think about what it is.
I task you to find that by the end of the week.
Control room? Yeah, she knows I ain't going to get on that.
You will, though. You're intrigued.
No, I'm not intrigued. I know exactly what it is.
Yes.
It was a staple on the Fox 14 News at 9.
Mm-hmm. Squirrel on water skis. We want you back. It's got to be on YouTube somewhere.
Oh, it's probably on some piece of antiquated tape that we no longer have machinery for. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if we still have any of those adapters to be able to watch that video. All right, moving along while Michael hacks away. A tractor trailer overturns on I-44 just before 3:15 Monday afternoon. Carthage Fire, Sarcoxy Rural Fire, Mercy EMS, and Jasper County Sheriff's deputies respond to reports of an overturned tractor trailer on I-44 East near mile marker 22. Witnesses say the tractor trailer was eastbound and traveled off the right side of the road when it overturned. The driver was transported with non-life-threatening injuries to an area hospital. Officials sentence a man suspected of arson in Joplin. Authorities arrest Kerry Long after he broke into a home, stole property, and then set the house on fire. Long faced charges of second-degree burglary and second-degree arson, but the arson charge was dropped. He was sentenced to 5 years supervised probation after taking a plea deal. A man received sentencing following a homicide investigation in Mount Vernon, Missouri. Officials say they found the body of 49-year-old Timothy Goodman of Mount Vernon in a parked car. Authorities say Michael Jones was originally charged with second-degree murder and abandonment of a corpse, but he took an Alford plea deal for voluntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 15 years to the Department of Corrections with credit for 5 years served and a $68 CVC fee. A brutal battle is still raging for strategic city in eastern Ukraine. Ukraine's president predicts Russia will escalate attacks this week Americans have been part of this fight as well, including 2 who were captured and are being held by Russian forces. Chris Livesay spoke to another American who fought alongside Andy Hun and Alexander Druki in Ukraine.
They wound up out here a bit by accident. They wanted to do good, and this is sort of I suppose the unfortunate result of that.
An American on the front line, insisting he remain anonymous because he fought alongside Andy Wynn and Alex Druki before they were captured and resurfaced on Russian media, speaking under duress. In newly released footage, Druki says he's been repeatedly beaten, and at one point, the 2 were bound, blindfolded, and forced on their knees. Druki said he thought they were going to be executed.
What do you know about prisoners of war in this conflict?
So we were advised a while back that execution could be a possibility. I'm very happy that they did not follow through with that.
Though their whereabouts remain uncertain. At one point in this video, Druki's interrogator says they are in an area held by pro-Russian separatists. In that same area, earlier this month, 2 Brits and a Moroccan were found guilty of fighting alongside Ukrainians and sentenced to death.
Anything you would say to Andy and Alex?
I would apologize.
Why would you apologize?
Because they sort of followed me out here. We all agreed there was no leader in the group, but yeah, I definitely feel a bit guilty, without a doubt. We should have taken a closer look at more humanitarian options or training options. If we did, then they wouldn't be in the situation they're in.
That fighter says he is in touch with the State Department, which told him it is doing everything they can. He also says the best case scenario for his imprisoned friends is a prisoner swap with Russia. Bringing it closer to home, Community Blood Center of the Ozarks needs your help to replenish the blood supply for Southwest Missouri. According to the organization, blood reserves are low, with less than 2 days supply available. Health officials say the reason behind the shortage is some lingering effects of the pandemic and time of the year. CBCO supplies blood, platelets, and plasma to 44 area healthcare facilities. Well, some four-staters beat the heat by heading down to the river. Elk River is a popular spot in McDonald County for river lovers to go out and camp, kayak, and go floating with a group of friends. There are a multitude of campgrounds to choose from, and if you do not have a kayak, canoe, or raft of your own, you can also rent one from campgrounds. Some people find going out to the river as a good opportunity to make new friends and enjoy the nice summer weather.
We just enjoy it. It's nice. I don't want to say it's a peaceful float because there's always a lot of people, but the river's wide, it's beautiful, lots of nice gravel bars to stop on. A little more fun later in the year when it warms up a little, but it's still a beautiful day today.
KOAM photojournalist Ty Parks took a trip to the river, and we'll take a deeper dive, pun intended, later in the show.
Water levels haven't been too bad past couple of weeks. Get a little break from all that rain that we've had, so it's much safer to be out there on the water than what it was there at the end of May and beginning of June. First day of summer now underway. 71 in Joplin and Miami, 72 in Fort Scott and Nevada. Weather trend for today, top out around 95. Feeling about like, say 101 to 103 for the afternoon hours. Pretty good increase in humidity compared to what we had yesterday. And then we got some scattered rainfall headed our way on Wednesday.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we meet a second-year Washington University resident who gets to assist in an open-heart surgery with her father. Plus, Hollywood gets set to roll out the next big batch of blockbusters. We want to know which one you're excited to see. And some pharmacies open their doors for the youngest children to receive COVID-19 vaccinations. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
A second-year Washington University student receives the opportunity to assist in heart surgery. Now here's the twist. That heart surgeon, it's her dad. Mike Bush with the details.
Even more than scalpels and forceps, the most important tools for a surgeon are the hands.
Today we're going to do an aortic valve replacement.
And on this day, 4 hands are better than 2.
All right, honey, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Dr. Sophia Roberts is a second-year Washington University resident,
Okay, now here's the way you do this.
training to become a cardiothoracic surgeon.
ACT was 613.
Less than 5% of heart surgeons are women, but making this even more unique is that the doctor she's assisting today
All right, give me another one. Coming up.
is her dad.
And this is a pretty complicated case, but she, if I say so myself, she did a really good job.
Following in her father's footsteps began at an early age. Her path cemented after dinners out with the family.
Inevitably, some family would come up to our table and say, "Oh, Dr. Roberts, you don't remember me, but you operated on my mother and gave her 10 extra years with us. Or you operated on me and now I'm here with my family." And that had a big impact on me as a kid.
From then on, she was a girl who preferred scrubs to skirts.
We got into this little game called Operation when she was about 4. My sister Beth said, she was really good at that. Actually,
Oh, no.
I've got her one. Let's just see.
That's awful.
Oh, she did it.
Whoa.
Whoa.
All right, there we go.
Here's one thing you can see here.
Though she was raised in South Florida, training at Washington University was always the dream.
That's pretty normal.
Her mom is from Belleville, so she'd visit the area often.
My grandmother had surgery here. My grandfather's been hospitalized here. It's a place that I would want my family members to go to. So to me, growing up, this was always kind of like the pinnacle of medicine.
After graduating from Yale and Ohio State University College of Medicine, she arrived in June of 2020. A year later, her dad would follow in her footsteps.
Her left ventricle was terrible.
After 30 years as a cardiac surgeon in Florida and West Virginia, he texted with the news that he received an offer to work for Washington University's renowned Heart and Vascular Program.
My immediate response was yes, you have to do this.
Trust me, if she's like, oh, please, don't do that, I wouldn't have come.
Take Your Daughter to Work Day wasn't just one day a year when Sophia was younger. She'd go with Dad to the hospital all the time.
Now, here's the way you do this.
They're still going to the hospital, only now it's to perform surgery together.
The thing I'm really looking forward to is this will be the first of many. One thing you do, you can feel it here.
Following Dad's example and his advice.
It's mostly just you have to love what you do, and what you do needs to sustain you for an entire career.
Hey, you did a great job.
Dr. Roberts and Dr. Roberts. Their family business is healing.
I got to tell you, she came in like a champ.
Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, after only 1 year, the Israeli government moves to dissolve its parliament. We're going to find out why and a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News return. Just past 5:17, roll a little weather on the 7s, and remember, with this being the first day of summer 2022, it will be the day with the longest amount of sunlight. And so there we are, already 20 minutes after the 5 o'clock hour. And we've already got the skies lightening over 7th and Range Line. Gorgeous, gorgeous shot right there. Very comfortable when you walk outside too. 71 degrees. No difference between wind chill and temperature, or heat index, I should say, this time of year since it's summer. And temperature. Humidity sitting at 81%. It's going to be a little bit. It's going to be a little bit more humid. You're going to notice it today compared to what we had yesterday. Let's roll 70 in Pittsburgh, 67 in Monett, 71 in Miami, and 75 right now in Chanute. You can tell the moisture and how it's grown in from the south. Yesterday we ended up being very, very dry. I saw our humidity numbers drop all the way down to about 40%. And not having to fight the wind, the highest of the winds still staying out to the west, and so we're able to roll that 5 to 10 mile per hour area for most of the morning. And not only that, going to keep all the rain out to the west of us as well. It's going to be a delightful start to Tuesday and to summer as a whole. Now, eventually, that low pressure system that we're looking at that's sitting out here, it is going to filter our way. It's just not going to be here until Wednesday. It's almost just going to follow the line straight over there. It's just not going to bring us much cooler temperatures after it rolls through. Weather trend for today, up around 95, so feeling about 101 to 103. Excuse me, as we work into Wednesday, you'll notice it's sporadic. It's not a definitive line by any means. That dominates the north early Wednesday morning. And then we see a little bit of it sink down into the central and southern portions and should be done there by Thursday. After that, it's set up for a scorcher of a Friday and Saturday. We're talking about getting up into the high 90s. That's going to feel in between, say, 105 and 110. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Insta Poll on our Facebook page. Top Gun Maverick kicked off the summer in a big way at the box office. Now you've got blockbusters that are going to keep on rolling out into the fall. We've already seen several trailers giving you a first-hand look at these films, including franchises, sequels, and superheroes. We have a preview of a few of the most highly anticipated to mark the calendar. Here's Ashley Dvorkin.
I got an urgent locate and destroy.
The Gray Man, starring Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling, is among blockbusters on the way.
The Russo brothers' first summer blockbuster since they came out with Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, and they are reuniting with their Captain America, Chris Evans.
Franchises include Hulu's Prey.
Let's talk about how they're doing this franchise prequel story.
It's a Predator movie that takes place 300 years ago. The Comanches are hunting and hunting prey, and then they realize that they are now being hunted by a predator.
October brings Halloween Ends.
Jamie Lee Curtis's last go round with Michael Myers as Laurie Strode.
A trailer has been released for November's DC antihero Black Adam with Dwayne Johnson.
Bestowed powers of an Egyptian god, he is then enslaved, but then freed thousands of years later, and he is the only one that can save the world.
Also in November, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Not much is known right now about the highly anticipated Black Panther sequel, including how the story will move forward without T'Challa, played by the late Chadwick Boseman. This is going to be a big one. Probably one of the bigger Marvel movies that we have seen in the pandemic era.
December has superhero sequel Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And we've gotten a glimpse of the immersive 3D return to Pandora, Avatar: The Way of Water.
Maybe you went through a little bit of a 3D period after Avatar came out and then you stopped going. Well, this is going to be the one that you return to go see. James Cameron, one of our great visionary filmmakers, and this is one of 4, believe it or not, sequels.
So we put a number of movies up on KOMNewsNow.com/vote asking what blockbuster are you excited to see, and all you have to do is clock in your vote. We'll get to some of your results here a little bit later in the show. We're going to come back and roll a little Health Watch on this first day of summer 2022 right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, every year millions of women suffer in silence from debilitating fibroids. Lisa Rosner introduces us to a New York woman who is sharing her story in hopes of changing that.
Course of my life, I was having anxiety attacks. My cycle went from 5 days to 7 days to 10 days.
43-year-old Eugenia Bowie describes how the pain of having uterine fibroids was so bad she could no longer exercise.
There were times when I would pass out. The doctor told me when I had my blood transfusion that the anxiety attacks were attributing to the fact that the fibroids were taking my blood.
Dr. Jan Katz-Nelson recommends any woman experiencing similar symptoms get an ultrasound.
Ultrasound within 5 minutes can tell you whether you have it or not.
New York Congresswoman Yvette Clarke has federal legislation that's been introduced that would mandate the CDC have a public education program, and it would set aside funding for research. 80% of black women will be diagnosed with fibroids by the age of 50. That number is 70% for white women. Vice President Kamala Harris recently highlighted the legislation.
Black women are about 3 times more likely to be hospitalized because of fibroids.
In Bowie's case, she'd been told 2 decades ago about her fibroids, but a doctor, she says, told her not to worry and suggested iron and birth control pills. Fast forward to last year.
I had 12 fibroids. My OBGYN suggested a hysterectomy.
One day, a Real Housewives of Atlanta episode showed model Cynthia Bailey open up about a procedure called uterine fibroid embolization.
We can put a catheter that goes through the body to the origin of the arteries that feed those fibroids. And we'll clog them. They will shrink and get disappeared by the body.
Bowie says she went home the same day and recovered in about a week's time.
The liberty that I have to move, I feel like I got my life back.
And she wants to empower other women to learn about their options and take action as soon as possible. Lisa Rosner, CBS News.
Bowie is now an ambassador with an advocacy organization called the Fibroid Fighters. CBS and Walgreens announced they will administer Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine to some children under 5 years old. On Saturday, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued a recommendation for all children 6 months through 5 years old to receive the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. CVS will start offering it at some of its locations to kids as young as 18 months old starting Tuesday. Walgreens made a similar announcement, but children have to be at least 3 years old to get it there. That's a look at some of your today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, authorities respond to an overturned tractor trailer on I-44.
Kicking off summertime with a gorgeous Tuesday start. It's going to be a scorcher by the time we get to the weekend, the latest in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And 4-staters head down to the river to enjoy the water and the summertime sun.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
With it being our first day of summer officially kicking off this morning at 4:14 in the central time zone. And there we are with a live look over Television City. Worked up to 92 degrees yesterday, right on par with where we thought it was going to be. Had a good question yesterday asking about the peak heating time, and just for the sake of record keeping, it was 10 after 4 yesterday is when we hit that 92 degree mark. So it really is in between, say, about 2:30 and 5:30 during the afternoon and evenings is when we're going to peak. 101, the record set back in, you guessed it, 1953. Temperatures right now ranging from, say, 67 all the way up to 75. We've got Chanute and Neodesha as our early clubhouse leaders. And as evident from our tower cam earlier, no worries on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Got a system of rain kicking out from Mexico through New Mexico and then east of the Rockies. That's the one that'll head our way by the time we get to Wednesday. Now, as far as what we're going to see today, we'll go with temperatures that are around 95 degrees, so quite a step up from yesterday, especially when you factor in the added humidity that we'll have. Feel about like 103 to 105 this afternoon. Dry on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, sporadic rain begins, more so isolated up to the north. It'll spread to the south and central portions throughout Wednesday afternoon into the evening. Not looking at anything organized nor anything severe. You can see how it tries to kind of range around until Thursday, but there's no backing off of the temperatures. Even our nighttime lows staying in the 70s throughout the duration of this system.
All right, well, it's going to be hot, and that's what summer usually brings, so.
Say we'll, at least I think psychologically we can feel better now and say it actually is summer.
Yeah, it's supposed to be hot during the summer. But I'm liking that as the 7-day progresses, we keep tacking on those 80-degree temperatures.
Yeah, that's that big front that's
keep on doing that.
Roll in on Sunday. Yeah.
Keep on doing that. I like that. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, a tractor trailer overturns on I-44 just before 3:15 Monday afternoon. Carthage Fire, Sarcoxy Rural Fire, Mercy EMS, and Jasper County Sheriff's deputies responded to reports of an overturned tractor trailer on I-44 East near mile marker 22. The witnesses say the semi was eastbound and traveled off the right side of the road when it overturned. The driver was transported with non-life-threatening injuries to an area hospital. A Joplin police officer severely injured in the line of duty returns to work. Officer Rick Hershey was shot after responding to a disturbance on March 8th. Corporal Ben Cooper and Officer Jake Reed died from injuries sustained during the March 8th disturbance. Hershey was hospitalized for 8 days and spent 96 days recovering at home. Hershey is now on light duty status, not cleared for full enrollment duties, and will assist with administration duties at the department.
I'm on full duty at least for the next 2 months. My doctor, my fracture in my spine, it has been good. It's healing well, but she said it'll take probably a full year to fully heal. And so she's got me on light duty for 2 more months. We'll do some more x-rays, and at that point she'll figure out where we go from there.
We'll hear more from Officer Rick Hershey in our 6 o'clock hour. Well, some 4-staters are beating the heat by going out and swimming in the river. Elk River is a popular spot in McDonald County for river lovers to go out and camp, kayak, and go floating with a group of friends. KOAM photojournalist Ty Parks caught some different views of the area.
Well, you have these beautiful mountains in southwest Missouri. I mean, they are gorgeous mountains, and they have tons of these little streams.
We just enjoy it. It's nice. It's I don't want to say it's a peaceful float because there's always a lot of people, but the river's wide. It's beautiful. Lots of nice gravel bars to stop on. A little more fun later in the year when it warms up a little, but it's still a beautiful day today. We like it because the water's clean. There's a lot of good swimming spots. It's still deep, but lots of good gravel bars to stop at. So, and there's always lots of excitement. There's always plenty of people. It's fun to people watch, that's for sure. It's more fun to float rivers where you can see what's going on in the river for me. I mean, I enjoy watching like the wildlife, the turtles, stuff like that. So you see a lot of wildlife on this river. You can see the fish swimming a lot of times. So for me, that's enjoyable. I mean, when I say clean, obviously there's beer cans floating around here and there, but overall the river I consider it to be a clean river. Oh, it's great. This is a good river to start on. You don't have a lot of real serious trouble spots, especially after the spring when the water goes down a little. There's not really too many places that you'll get into trouble on this river. So for a novice or a beginner, it's a good river to float. Pretty wide open, not any real tight spots that you have to panic over.
Well, if you don't have a kayak, canoe, or raft of your own, you can also rent one from campgrounds in the area. Well, there's a good chance your KOAM or Fox 14 signal looks a little glitchy right now, but don't worry, it's a sign of progress. We started broadcasting from a lower temporary antenna while a crew installs a new, more technically advanced antenna at the top of our tower. It's the final step in our More Power project. This will allow some viewers who previously lost our signal to get us once again. If all goes to plan, we will be back up and stronger than ever soon.
Weather trend for today, tower crew going to be able to get a whole bunch of work done. They're just going to have to fight the heat and be up into the mid-90s. Humidity is going to be the big factor that you're going to notice compared to what we had. Yesterday just turned out to be absolutely phenomenal during the afternoon and evening hours because it stayed so dry. Humidity slipped down around 40% yesterday. Now that will not be the case today. It's already sitting at about 80%. And that's going to factor into the afternoon hours. And it's the result of a system that's out to our west right now that's going to be on us on Wednesday and bring us, with that humidity, bring us some isolated rain showers for Wednesday morning and then finally filtering into the central and southern portions by the time we get to Thursday. 7-day forecast. We do not back off our temperatures, however, as we'll maintain the 90s for Wednesday and Thursday, high 90s Friday and Saturday.
All right, this morning we're discussing blockbuster movies, and nothing says first day of summer quite like a blockbuster movie, and half a dozen are coming to your multiplex or streaming service over the next few months. And Hulu has a prequel to Predator, the franchise called Prey, that takes place 300 years in the past. Speaking of Predators, the next entry in the Halloween franchise, The Halloween Ends, slashes its way back into theaters. We'll see if it can live up to its title. Shazam, Black Adam, and the highly anticipated Black Panther Wakanda Forever should satisfy your craving for superhero movies. And James Cameron is taking audiences back to Pandora with the sequel Avatar, The Way of Water. I just saw a preview for that. I'm super excited. Our question this morning, what blockbuster are you excited to see?
I'm super excited about Prey because it was shot in 2 languages.
Really?
English and Comanche.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm really interested to watch that. Right now, Tanya, 52%, that's going to be our leader, say Black Panther, followed by another 16% with Prey, 16% with Halloween Ends, 16% with Avatar. Each and every morning, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now.
I took the kids to go see Buzz Lightyear, or Lightyear, I guess, the movie on Sunday, and there was a prequel to Avatar. And the original Avatar probably came out before they were even born, or they hadn't seen it, basically.
Oh, way before they were born.
Yeah, so they were like, there was a movie before this, so I'm excited. They're excited about seeing it. They want to see it. They need to see the prequel first.
Where did Lightyear rank on Tanya's top 5? Because it has been panned
Well, you know, they talked about this kissing scene in there. They cut it out of the theaters that showed in Pittsburgh.
I don't think that's
wasn't
why
there.
people were panning the movie.
Panning it. I enjoyed it. It tugged at your heartstrings. It did. It definitely did. And that's what all the Toy Story movies do. Like, all of them made me cry. In a movie theater, I still, like, teared up for this one.
This goes down to everything from lack of Tim Allen to, I just know from reading over the weekend that it does not look like it's doing well.
Well, regardless, my 8-year-old and my 9-year-old, my 16-year-old, and myself all enjoyed it.
Excellent.
Yes.
Now take them to go see Prey.
Well,
no, don't do that. No, that was a joke. That was a joke.
No, you won't, because it's on Hulu, not in the theaters.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
It'll be on Hulu.
Get to the chopper!
I'm so excited that movies are actually back in the theaters
every
these
old
days.
line from the original somehow reiterated 300 years in the past in that movie.
Where they belong, back in the theaters. Thank you.
Soapbox.
Goodbye, pandemic. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, we'll meet a couple of dads who brought fun to the bus stop during the school year. Plus, a Russian journalist auctions off his Nobel Prize to raise funds for Ukrainian refugees. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, Israelis will be heading to the polls again later this year. That comes after Israel's Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, along with his key coalition ally Foreign Minister Yair Lapid, agreed to submit a bill to dissolve parliament. The Bennett-Lapid government has been in power for just over a year. It was formed from a coalition of 8 parties stretching across the political spectrum. But a number of members of the coalition have quit or threatened to quit over the past few weeks. Aras Gold reports.
Naftali Bennett. He was not supposed to be prime minister, at least not yet. But in 2021, his small party opened the door to a new government, one that ended Benjamin Netanyahu's run as the longest-serving Israeli prime minister. And with that, the high-tech millionaire became the country's 13th prime minister.
Naftali Bennett,
leader of the right-wing party Yamina, joining forces with unlikely bedfellows to form the most diverse coalition in Israel's history. Bennett, a kippah-wearing religious former settler leader, sitting alongside left-wing parties he once derided, and the first Arab party in a governing coalition.
We knew it was going to be hard. We knew that when you put secular and religious together, right and left, and Jews and Arabs together, there are going to be bumps in the road. But that's the challenge.
With so many diametrically opposed positions, the coalition agreed to avoid major changes on lightning rod issues, especially in regard to any move towards peace talks with Palestinians. But marking achievements elsewhere, passing the first budget in nearly 4 years, building out security alliances on the back of the Abraham Accord normalization agreements. Bennett becoming the first Israeli prime minister to visit the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain.
It's a government with many achievements in comparison to its short period and narrow parliamentary majority. What it didn't succeed to do is to rescue or extract Israel from its internal cultural identity warfare. And in this respect, this government was more of a ceasefire rather than putting an end to the political deadlock.
The grand experiment, barely 1 year old, crumbling, sending Israelis once again to the polls for the 5th time in just over 3 years.
The winner of last year's Nobel Peace Prize, Russian journalist Dmitry Muratov, auctions off his prize medal to aid Ukrainian refugees. It sold for a record $103.5 million Monday night. Muratov released a statement saying that all proceeds will go to UNICEF to help children displaced by the war in Ukraine. The 60-year-old journalist is the editor of the independent newspaper Novaya Gazeta. The publication suspended operations in March amid the Kremlin's aggressive clampdown of the press. Muratov received the prestigious award last October with journalist Maria Ressa of the Philippines. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A man is sentenced following a homicide investigation in Mount Vernon, Missouri. Officials say they found the body of 49-year-old Timothy Goodman of Mount Vernon in a parked car. Authorities say Michael Jones was originally charged with second-degree murder and abandonment of a corpse, but he took an Alford plea deal for voluntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 15 years to the Department of Corrections with credit for 5 years served and a $68 CBC fee. Officials sentenced a man suspected of arson in Joplin. Authorities arrested Kerry Long after he broke into a home, stole property, and then set the house on fire. Long faced charges of second-degree burglary and second-degree arson, but the arson charge was dropped. He was sentenced to 5 years supervised probation after taking a plea deal. Some swimmers who had plans to go to the Parsons Lake may have to find a new spot. In an effort to keep swimmers and lake users safe, officials have closed Lake Parsons in Parsons, Kansas until further notice. They say excessive erosion in recent months revealed a hazard that was placed in the beach. The city is currently in the process of removing that hazard. A Joplin police officer severely injured in the line of duty returns to work. Officer Hershey was shot after responding to a disturbance on March 8th. Corporal Ben Cooper and Officer Jake Reed died from injuries sustained during the March 8th disturbance. Hershey was hospitalized for 8 days and spent 96 days recovering at home. Hershey is now on light duty status, not cleared for full enrollment duties, and will assist with administration duties at the department. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Extremely comfortable for our Tuesday morning and our first day of summer as we range anywhere from 67 to 75. Even with our higher humidity than what we've had past couple of days, it's delightful, and the sky's clear as can be. Now, by the time we get to this afternoon, we're going to be a little bit hotter than what we had past couple of days, as the line of heat that stretches right there from Texas, Oklahoma, and through most of central Kansas expands east right through us. But the rain stays out to the west. It stays out to the west for the time being, but that will change here after a day of 95 for our first day of summer. We're going to get some isolated rain that begins Wednesday morning. Start really in the north before it spreads into the central and southern portions. Not looking at anything severe, but sticking around until Thursday morning. It'd be nice if there was a cool down on the backside of it, but there won't be. We'll stay in the 90s on Wednesday and Thursday before the high 90s emerge on Friday and Saturday. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
In Maryland, a couple of dads who call themselves the Bus Stop Pops gave a group of elementary school kids a special end of the school year send-off on Thursday. The dads have been working hard to make the school year fun after their daughters started kindergarten this year. So they surprised the children by wearing different costumes each week. Jennifer Franciotti has the story.
The last day of school is always exciting, but for these Jacksonville elementary students, the bus stop has been fun all year thanks to two dads who call themselves
Bus Stop Pops. We're just two dads with a little bit too much time that want to make our kids laugh.
And they do it by surprising the kids, wearing different costumes each week. Adam Clement and Nick Jones met when their girls started kindergarten this year, and a friendship and an idea was born.
Our bus actually picks our kids up, goes down the street and passes us back by, so we don't always sit there and wait to wave. We're joking around one day when they were coming back and saying, hey, wouldn't it be ridiculous if we were in some sort of silly costume for the kids?
And so it began, each week a different theme.
We did upside down handstands, we've done gorillas. The Tyrannosaurus chasing the archaeologist, that was probably one of my favorites. That and the elf on the shelf.
And the water balloon thing with the pie in the face. I like the pie part the best.
Are they crazy?
Yes.
I think it's super cool. We didn't know what to think at first, but I think it's turned into something really special for the kids.
We never know what they're going to come up with, but you know, every week they always end up topping the last, so it's pretty cool to see.
Boarding the bus for the last time, the kids head to the cul-de-sac to turn around as the Bus Stop Pops prepare their final surprise for the end of the school year. Great job, guys. Now only 11 more years to go.
It's not to the point where we're embarrassing our kids yet, but you know, it's going to be more fun once we start.
Pretty cool dads. We'll be right back with your first day of summer forecast right after this.
Temperatures are service. Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric.
We will have the most daylight. That's what the summer solstice is. I always hesitate to call it the longest day because I promise you it will be 24 hours just like it was yesterday. 24 hours just like it will be tomorrow. But as far as our span of daylight goes, this will be our longest period. Joplin reaches 71 degrees already pre-sunrise, and it's extremely comfortable. If you want to get out and enjoy an early morning walk, this is perfect for it. Humidity hasn't become overwhelming, sitting in the 70s right now. And also, too, you don't have to fight any wind. We're just coming in 5 to 10 miles per hour. And the reason to take advantage of it now is because we just get hotter. For our first day of summer is going to put us up into the mid-90s here later on. Going to stay on the dry side until we get to Wednesday. Wednesday is going to bring us some sporadic rainfall that moves in from the west. Start for the northern portion of the 4 states before it filters to the north and south, and we'll break that down when we return right after this.
Coming up, a man gets charged following a homicide investigation in Mount Vernon, Missouri.
'Tis the first day of summer 2022, so why not have a return of the heat and the humidity? The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And JPD's officer Rick Hershey comes back to work.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories and much more in just a moment. But first, let's go to Michael Hayslip. And it is now officially the first day of summer.
4:14 is when summer started over the central time zone. Now that we find ourselves almost 2 hours in, it's been a delightful Tuesday morning. Very nice temperatures, a little bit warmer out to the west where Chinoo's at 74, compared that to the 67s in Monette and Cassville, Joplin and Miami, along with Lamar right at 71. And a gorgeous Skywatch storm tracker, a whole bunch of blue sky already taking effect. Skywatch storm tracker low pressure system hangs out to our west, our far west. But this is what's going to creep our way slowly and surely over the next 24 hours. But of course, if this is headed our way, then this realm of heat is also headed our way to the tune that we're going to lift up, say around 95 later on today, and a whole lot more humidity than what we had yesterday. Yesterday we really lucked out, dropped all the way down to about 40%. As far as what we're looking at weather trend-wise, peak heating 2:30 to 5:30 this afternoon. In between 103 and 105 is what it'll feel like. Then the aforementioned rain that moves in from the west. You can tell it starts off rather isolated up to the north, eventually moves into the central and southern portions throughout Wednesday afternoon and evening. Not looking at anything severe. Not everybody's going to pick up rain either. It's going to be spotty at best. Wednesday and Thursday, though, keep us in the 90s, so there's not really much of a drop in temperatures even after it comes through.
All right, well, sounds like kicking off summer with some heat, which seems normal.
Yep, like I said, maybe psychologically it's easier to deal with when you go, well, it is summer.
Very true. All right, thanks, Michael. A man is sentenced following a homicide investigation in Mount Vernon, Missouri. Officials say they found the body of 49-year-old Timothy Goodman of Mount Vernon in a parked car. Authorities say Michael Jones was originally charged with second-degree murder and abandonment of a corpse, but he took an Alford plea deal for voluntary manslaughter. He was sentenced 15 years to the Department of Corrections with credit for 5 years served and a $68 CVC fee. Officials sentenced a man suspected of arson in Joplin. Authorities arrested Kerry Long after he broke into a home, stole property, and then set the house on fire. Long faced charges of second-degree burglary and second-degree arson, but the arson charge was dropped. He was sentenced to 5 years supervised probation after taking a plea deal. A tractor trailer overturns on I-44 just before 3:15 Monday afternoon. Carthage Fire, Sarcoxy Rural Fire, Mercy EMS, and Jasper County Sheriff's deputies responded to reports of an overturned tractor trailer on I-44 East near mile marker 22. Witnesses say the semi was eastbound and traveled off the right side of the road when it overturned. The driver was transported with non-life-threatening injuries to an area hospital. Well, Father's Day may be over, but we're still celebrating good dads, and that happens to be the name of a program provided through the Alliance of Southwest Missouri here in Joplin. The Good Dads program is in its second year of helping non-custodial fathers establish a relationship with their children. On Monday, both past and present graduates of the 15-week course got together to have some fun with their kids, doing arts and crafts and bonding over games. One graduate shares why he recommends the program.
Any father out there that is struggling with relationships with their kids and things like that, you're going to learn lots of tools and techniques through this program, which has helped me a lot, especially to communicate with my teenager.
The next Good Dads class will begin on July 11th. It's free to sign up. If you or someone you know would like to register, you can learn more by checking out this article on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. On Monday, a ribbon-cutting ceremony is held at Irving Elementary for shade canopies. Irving PTO worked nearly 2 years on the fundraising for the project. Sponsors include Arvest Foundation, Mercy Hospital, and other local businesses. Playground now has 4 canopies to keep kids and staff safe on hot days.
About 2 years ago, our amazing PTO surveyed our staff and teachers, and that was a large ask from them of, my goodness, it would be nice to have some shade for the kids as well as them.
An anonymous partner offered to donate full installation services, saving an estimated $12,000 in additional project cost. That's awesome. Well, Joplin police officer severely injured in the line of duty returns to work. Officer Rick Hershey was shot after responding to a disturbance on March 8th. Corporal Ben Cooper and Officer Jake Reed died from injuries sustained during that same disturbance. Hershey was hospitalized for 8 days and spent 96 days recovering at home. Officer Hershey is now on light duty status. He's not cleared for full enrollment duties, but will assist with administration duties at the department.
I'm on full duty at least for the next 2 months. My doctor, my fracture in my spine, it has been good, it's healing well, but she said it'll take probably a full year to fully heal, and so she's got me on light duty for 2 more months. We'll do some more x-rays, and at that point she'll figure out where we go from there.
We'll hear more from Officer Rick Hershey in our 6 o'clock hour. Today, back in 1964, the KKK kills 3 civil rights activists. Michael Schwerner, Andrew Goodman, and James Chaney are killed by a Ku Klux Klan mob near Meridian, Mississippi. The 3 young civil rights workers were working to register black voters in Mississippi, thus inspiring the ire of the local Klan. The deaths of Schwerner and Goodman, whiter Northerners, and members of the Congress of Racial Equality, or CORE, caused national outrage. When the news of their disappearance got out, the FBI converged on Mississippi to investigate. With the help of an informant, agents learned about the Klan's involvement and found the bodies. Mississippi refused to prosecute the assailants in state court, so the federal government charged 18 men with conspiracy to violate the civil rights of the 3 murdered men. 7 men were convicted, 8 were acquitted, and the all-white jury deadlocked on the other 3 defendants.
For those of you looking for historical context that ties into or something to talk about, the movie Mississippi Burning, as far as the amount of time and effort that was put into the historical aspect of that. 7-day forecast, highs around 95 later on today. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid, that is for sure. Remember, sporadic rainfall beginning on Wednesday. Not looking at anything severe. It's not able really to organize too much. And then it'll filter to the north and the south, throughout the central and the south, throughout Wednesday afternoon and evening. Out of here by Thursday, heating back up into the high 90s Friday and Saturday.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, our studio goes to the dogs as Jasmine Kyle from the SEK Humane Society stops by to not only introduce us to who could be your new best friend, but other dogs at the shelter as well. Plus, a judge denies the man charged with killing 6 and injuring more in a Wisconsin Christmas parade, a new venue for his trial. And if you're good at Wordle, well, I got good news for you. You're more than likely to be good at other puzzle-like games as well. We'll explain. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, a judge denies a request for a New York venue for the man accused of killing 6 people and injuring dozens more at a Wisconsin Christmas parade last year. The judge said the defense failed to show evidence of bias in the community that would prevent a fair trial, and also denied a request to select jurors from a different county. Darrell Brooks is accused of careening his SUV into parade goers in Waukesha in November the 21st. His attorneys say he intends to change his plea to not guilty by reason of mental defect or disease. Brooks faces more than 80 charges in connection to the tragedy. His trial is scheduled for October 3rd. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol insurrection holds its 4th in a series of hearings this morning. Aides to the panel say the hearing will focus on efforts by former President Trump and his allies to pressure officials at the state level to overturn results of the 2020 presidential election.
Today, the January 6th House Select Committee will shift attention to a state-level pressure campaign aimed at blocking Joe Biden's White House victory. The hearing will examine an alleged scheme to get electors in key battleground states to meet and transmit false slates to be used to stop the transfer of power. Panel aides say they'll show President Trump was warned of a risk of violence, but pursued the efforts anyway.
We'll show evidence of the president's involvement in this scheme.
Congressman Adam Schiff will lead today's hearing, which will focus largely on Georgia and Arizona. Among key witnesses, Arizona House Speaker Rusty Bowers, who says President Trump asked him to change the state's law to choose different electors. Bowers also received an email from Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny, asking to reverse Mr. Trump's election loss, according to the Washington Post. The committee has requested an interview with her.
She said publicly that she looks forward to coming in and talking to us. So I take her at her word that she intends to come in, and we look forward to talking to her.
And Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger will testify about, among other things, the now infamous phone call he received from the president.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
4 witnesses are scheduled to testify later today. That testimony is expected to include death threats they received due to false claims of fraud by former President Trump. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
Facing pressure to file charges against the former president and some of his staff, the U.S. District Attorney and Justice Department say they're watching the hearings. Former President Trump's actions in Georgia, meantime, are currently the subject of a grand jury investigation, with a district attorney there expected to announce later this year whether it has been determined if a crime was committed. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News. Special guest Jasmine Kyle in Studio K right after this.
Hi, thank you. Welcome back. We've got Jasmine Kyle from the SEK Humane Society in studio this morning, here with Sugar Mama.
Yeah.
Wonderful dog.
Good morning. So yeah, this is Sugar Mama. As you can see, she is a German Shepherd. We don't get a whole lot of German Shepherds at our facility. She came to us, so she was abandoned near a complex, and she was in really bad condition, unfortunately. So she went through 4 to 6 weeks of medication and physical therapy, and as you can see, she is truly blossomed. But as how she got her name, she is an incredibly sweet, sweet, sweet dog. That's one of the things that we first realized with her is when we were taking her to the vet, when we opened up the van door, she immediately jumped into a kennel and sat down and was like, okay, I'm ready to go. And we were like, oh my gosh, she is so sweet. So this is Sugar Mama. She does great with people, as you can see. She can sit and shake on command.
What's crazy is, like, until this segment started, she's been sitting here quietly and very patiently.
Yes.
And as soon as the cameras started rolling.
They know. They absolutely know. They're just
Time
like
for
kids.
action.
That's why we call them kids out at our shelter.
Yeah.
But we are still, unfortunately, currently at full capacity. So if you are looking at this point in time in your life into adding a new family member, boy, it would help us out. Because when you adopt from a no-kill shelter, you're saving 2 lives. One for the animal that you rescued, and the other that we're able to fill that space with right now, with a family and a dog that needs to come in.
Yeah. All right, what are some of the other kind of dogs that you have at the shelter right now?
Yeah, so we have a few at our facility. Well, we have more than a few, but one of the dogs I love to talk about this morning is Pablo. He is an amazing, cute 11-year-old Red Heeler Terrier mix. Hi, she loves chairs. You can come up on the chair with me, that's fine. We fostered her last night, and she is now thinking that she can get on the couch because we gave her some extra cuddle time, and she deserves it. She's such a sweet, sweet dog, isn't she? But we have Pablo at our facility, and he's a little guy. We call him a newborn deer. He has tons and tons of spots, and he barely comes up above my kneecap, and he's great. He's a great dog. We've had him at 2 Pet Sense events, and he's so sweet, kind, and gentle. We also have our longest resident. His name is Jack. He is a lab boxer mix, and he's been at our facility for a few years, actually. He was originally found one of my first cruelty cases, actually, with the organization. He was found trapped in a restroom container in the wintertime. Wow. And he was skin and bones. We had to create a hammock and get him out of that location. It took almost 2 years of medical care and physical therapy and learning out that he had a grain allergy and blood work, but now he is amazing. We recently had Good Boy Professional Dog Training Amelia and Wade come out and work with him, and he's walking in heel. He's been doing much better with meeting other dogs. He is such a kind, gentle soul. So from smaller dogs, we have a lot of larger dogs on property, but if you're thinking of how you can help, adoption right now is a huge helping hand to animal shelters. Now, if you can't, that's absolutely fine. We, of course, don't want you to have to take a tough decision where it's not the responsible thing to do to add a new family member. So other ways that you can help right now is volunteering, or it's kitten and puppy season right now on top of everything. So especially wet dog food, wet cat pate food, that is a huge, huge, huge help right now.
As you can see, Sugar Mama is a very playful dog.
Yes.
And would do well with a family that has a lot of energy.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I know. You can come on up, honey.
Here, we got something for you. Found some toys.
Yeah, she's a very sweet dog, very sweet dog. And German Shepherds, we don't get them a whole lot, and that's what we have. Now, we're sad when people ask for breed specific, but if you've been looking for a German Shepherd who is mostly potty trained, who already knows command, she knows how to sit and shake on command, who's great with kids, who can do meet and greets with your dog, boy, we might have your perfect fit at our shelter.
Yeah. Give them a shot. Head
Yes.
out there and check them out.
And we do also offer foster to adopt in the state of Kansas per Kansas Department of Ag. So if you live within 30 miles of your shelter and be like, you know, I want to give Sugar Mama a chance, we can absolutely let you foster her for a little while. And if it works out, then you know what? She's made her home with you guys too.
Look at that face.
Look
at that face
she's
right
such
there.
a good dog. She is
All
such
right.
a fantastic dog.
All right, Sugar Mama, I got a question for you. Yeah. Do you think you can behave well enough to stick around for our next segment on Fox 14?
Yeah.
I think so. I think so. We'll shake on it. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to break and have you guys come back on our Fox show.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back.
Summer on.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a new study in the journal Current Medicine Research and Opinion found the odds of females developing long COVID is 22% higher than males. Symptoms in females include ear, nose, and throat problems, mood, fatigue, neurological and gastrointestinal issues. Males were more likely to suffer kidney-related disorders. The American Academy of Pediatrics now recommending screenings for depression and suicide risk at children's well visits. It's part of the AAP's updated schedule for preventative care. Doctors also asked to assess the risk for conditions that can lead to sudden cardiac arrest or death for children 11 to 21 years of age. And if you're good at Wordle, maybe skilled at other new puzzles, and perhaps better focused at school and at work, a team of California psychologists found that people who showed the ability to apply skills to similar games, known as near transfer, were also more likely to be able to apply the skills in daily activities, known as far transfer. Researchers are launching a larger scale project to further study brain training. As a look at some of today's top health stories as you're watching the KOAM Morning News. Delightful start to our first day of summer. 71 right now in Joplin. Chinook's been consistently our warm point at 74, and south of I-44, we've been holding on to the high 60s. I haven't seen really anybody break 70 south of I-44 in southwest Missouri as of yet. Our weather trend for the first day of summer, certainly going to feel like it. Up around 95 degrees and a whole lot of more humidity than what we had yesterday. Yesterday stayed really dry on us. It was nice, it was delightful. Here's future track. It's dry today, and then the Gulf moisture kicks in, and we're going to have some isolated rain for Wednesday morning. Up to the north is where it starts, and then eventually moves down to the south by Wednesday night and Thursday morning, but we maintain the 90s all throughout the week.
Coming up, a man is charged following a homicide investigation in Mount Vernon, Missouri.
First day of summer, bringing us blue sky and plenty of heat. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And Officer Rick Hershey goes back to work at the JPD.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:28. I'm Tanya Buck. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
It is the day of the summer solstice, officially taking place at 4:14 early this morning in Joplin. Current conditions as we say hello to the glow cloud. It is comfortable, it is beautiful, it is gorgeous outside right now, 71 degrees with just a little light south breeze. Normally, we would anticipate pushing up only into the high 80s. We'd say about 87, but we will easily eclipse that probably by the noon hour, as we've already got some mid-70s ranging out in southeast Kansas, 74 in Chanute, 70 in Miami, and also Nevada and Fort Scott at 70. Skywatch Storm Tracker remains clear. We're paying attention to what is out to our west. Got a line of thunderstorm activity that will head toward us, not be here until Wednesday, and it won't stay as organized as what you see right there, but that's also an indicator that we're going to pick up some additional humidity compared to what we had yesterday. Throw ourselves back in that oppressive category. One more day before we really heat up on Friday and Saturday. So this afternoon we'll say 95, about where we'll top out. Feel about like 103 to 105. And then the aforementioned rain begins to work in early tomorrow morning. You'll notice it's sporadic. Not everybody's going to end up getting rain tomorrow. It is spotty at best. And then eventually dropping into the central and southern 4 states for Thursday morning. Then we're done with it. But no reprieve from the heat. Going to keep the 90s on Wednesday and Thursday, and then a massive warm up from Thursday into Friday as we're into the high 90s for Friday and Saturday.
All right, well, sounds like summer is here and so is the heat.
Yeah, next week, roll out the 80s and feel about like spring again.
Well, we skipped spring, so that would be
like
nice. I feel like we skipped it. Went from cold to hot, just like that. All right, thanks, Michael. Officials sentence a man suspected of arson in Joplin. Authorities arrest Kerry Long after he broke into a home, stole property, and then set the house on fire. Long faced charges of second-degree burglary and second-degree arson, but the arson charge was dropped. He was sentenced to 5 years supervised probation after taking a plea deal. A man is sentenced following a homicide investigation in Mount Vernon, Missouri. Officials say they found the body of 49-year-old Timothy Goodman of Mount Vernon in a parked car. Authorities say Michael Jones was originally charged with second-degree murder and abandonment of a corpse, but he took an Alford plea deal for voluntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 15 years to the Department of Corrections with credit for 5 years served and a $68 CVC fee. 15 campers build Legos to their heart's content. This week, all week long, campers let children from ages 5 to 12 build themed projects, Lego games, and competitions, and made Lego snacks and more. The purpose of the camp is to get kids interacting with other children and have some fun inside this summer.
Them more active throughout the day, and then kind of meeting new people, letting them enjoy summer, and then they get to take home a lot of the stuff that they build here, so they'll just have different stuff to do at home too while they have the summer for them.
Cost of the camp includes snacks, prizes, and campers receive a new Lego set every day. A program aimed at helping non-custodial fathers establish a relationship with their child celebrates a batch of graduates, both new and old. The program is called Good Dads. That's just what these guys learned to be through 15 weeks of classes focused on being active fathers. On Monday, graduates, both past and present, got together to have some fun with their kids, something many of them weren't able to do before.
far as progress goes with some of these dads, it's exciting because every week they come in and you hear things like, hey, I got in a visit with my kids, or, you know, hey, I made my first child support payment, or, hey, I'm getting my kids back, custody of my kids back.
The next Good Dads class will begin on July 11th. If you or someone you know would like to sign up, you can learn more by checking out this article on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Many lives changed after the March 8th shooting that killed 2 Joplin police officers and injured another. And now that injured officer is back on duty. Amber Jenkins spoke to Officer Rick Hershey about his experience.
Officer Rick Hershey returns to light duty at Joplin Police after recovering from the March 8 shooting. He dedicates his successful recovery to his family, Joplin Police Department, and the support of the community.
Oh, I had tons of support. My family, my son and daughter-in-law, they come down, and so they were here until I went home from the hospital. Of course, my wife, the police department family.
Doctors said that the path of the bullet was a 1 in a million chance of not being fatal.
If you've seen my x-rays, the path this bullet took was unbelievable.
Hershey knows how blessed he is to report back to duty after the shooting. He will always have his falling officers in mind.
Cooper was actually a trainee of mine going on 20 years ago. So I've known Coop for a long, long time. Jake, I got to interact with him quite a bit. You know, both great guys, great cops.
Officer Hershey values that he can rely on his fellow officers during these critical times. He thanks Captain Davis for showing up when he needed him the most.
God helped him be at the right place at the right time.
Yes.
Because again, he was way across town, but he showed up at the exact point of, I'm going, okay, well, I've been shot. Everything still works. Plan B is, move my car. Okay, let me move my car.
Despite doctors saying he will not fully heal until next year, Officer Hershey knows this is his calling.
Because when I retired, I was ready to be done, but I felt I was being called back, that I wasn't done here. And so I listened, and I came back.
Amber Jenkins, KOAM, Joplin, Missouri.
Officer Hershey was hospitalized for 8 days and spent 96 days recovering at home. Well, on this date, back in 1982, John Hinckley Jr., who attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan, was found not guilty. Hinckley, who on March 30th, 1981, shot President Ronald Reagan and 3 others outside a Washington, D.C. hotel, was found not guilty of attempted murder by reason of insanity. In the trial, Hinckley's defense attorneys argued their client was ill with narcissistic personality disorder, citing medical evidence, and had a pathological obsession with the 1976 film Taxi Driver, in which the main character attempts to assassinate a fictional senator. His lawyers also claimed Hinckley had watched the movie more than a dozen times, was obsessed with the lead actress, Jodie Foster, and had attempted to reenact the events of the film in his own life. It was successful, and Hinckley was placed in St. Elizabeth's Hospital, a mental institution. In the late 1990s, his attorney argued his illness was in remission, and thus he had a right to return to normal life.
And just did last week. We talked about him last week.
Yeah.
Living by himself now. All right, 7-day forecast going to put us up into the mid-90s. Later on today, heat index readings about 103 to 105. If you have a chance, enjoy a gorgeous first morning of summer. It is wonderful outside right now because by the time we get around the noon hour, you're going to notice that humidity creeping back in.
Look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. Gas prices lower a little bit as President Biden could pause the federal gas saving drivers money at the pump. And movies happen all year round, and summertime is no different from Black Panther to Avatar. There's something for everyone, and today we want to know, what movie are you excited to see? We let you weigh in. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, first-time home buyers have been priced out and sidelined for several years, but finally, some possible signs that the market may be cooling off. Mortgage rates rising and real estate companies issuing layoffs. But what does it mean for first-time homebuyers? One expert weighs in.
Several signs showing a possible real estate cool down just as the market enters its hottest, busiest summer season.
This is when the largest majority of buyers are looking to buy, and in the real estate market, buyers drive the market.
The buying frenzy for those few available homes could soon be declining. According to Freddie Mac, mortgage rates increased by more than 0.5 percentage point last week, the biggest one-week jump since 1987. The 30-year fixed-rate mortgage jumped to nearly 5.8% in the week ending June 16th. For comparison, rates were under 3% the same time last year. That makes homes even more expensive for those who need to take out a loan to buy, and that could lower demand.
The question on everybody's mind is, will these interest rate hikes slow the market down so much that prices drop? And unfortunately, the only way that that would happen is if it pushed enough buyers out of the market that the demand for the existing supply decreased. And that's not what we're seeing.
The average mortgage rate increase follows last week's Fed interest rate hike and major layoffs at 2 U.S. real estate companies. Redfin is cutting 8% of its staff as its stock is down 80% this year. And Compass laying off 10% of its staff, citing clear signals of slowing economic growth. So what does this all mean for first-time homebuyers?
Even though we've seen a rate hike, it's going to get even worse. So if you're waiting to buy real estate because you think it's unaffordable, it might become even more unaffordable as they continue to raise rates.
Another indication the hot housing market could be cooling off. New government data shows new residential construction and the number of permits issued for building homes both fell in May. And according to the Mortgage Bankers Association, applications to purchase new homes in May fell 4% from April and 5% from a year ago. Gas prices have fallen ever so slightly. The national average ended yesterday just below $5 a gallon. This as President Biden says he's looking at data to determine whether to support pausing the federal gas tax, which by some estimates could save Americans as much as 18 cents a gallon. The president also said members of his team are set to meet this week with CEOs of the major oil companies to discuss the record prices. JetBlue Airways increased its buyout offer for Spirit Airlines to more than $3.5 billion. JetBlue says its cash bid is now $33.5 for each Spirit share. That's $2 more than a revised offer it made earlier this month. On June 30th, Spirit shareholders are scheduled to vote on a competing offer from Frontier. Restaurant created by KFC and founder Harlan Sanders for his wife decades ago is up for sale. The listing for the Claudia Sanders Dinner House in Shelbyville, Kentucky includes the trademark and likeness of the Claudia Sanders name, as well as memorabilia from the Sanders family and a house the couple lived in for over 20 years. The listing does not include a sales price. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Insta Poll and our morning Facebook page, summer blockbuster movies. Nothing says first day of summer quite like heat and a new movie rolling out. Half a dozen, as a matter of fact, coming to your multiplex or streaming service excuse me, in just the next few months. Hulu's got a prequel to the Predator franchise. It's called Prey. This takes place 300 years before Arnold shows up and goes after it. The next entry in the Halloween franchise is Halloween Ends. And then we've got Shazam, Black Adam, the highly anticipated Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And James Cameron taking audiences back to Pandora. We've got the sequel of Avatar, The Way of Water. Our question for you this morning, what blockbuster are you excited to see? And right now, 37% go with the second Black Panther. Kind of split between that. I guess Halloween Ends is coming in at a pretty good second right there at 27%. And then we're split between Black Adam, Prey, and Avatar. You can make your voice heard each and every morning. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now. We're going to come back, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but first, off to New York to catch up with Nate.
I'm Nate Burleson. Coming up on CBS Mornings, actress and best-selling children's author Kristen Bell. She will be with us. She's going back to school with Penny Purple to celebrate being unique. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Paul Cunningham. Sergeant Paul Cunningham served in the U.S. Army from 2001 to 2003. He served in Iraq and in Afghanistan with the B Company 5th RTB. He earned a Silver Star among several other medals during his service in native Iola, Kansas. We thank you, today's four-state hero, Paul Cunningham.
You know it's pretty cool when you pose on deck circle for your birthday picture. And that's exactly what Willow Escanio is pulling off right here. She's like, I'll wait my turn, but I've got my bat and I'm ready to rock and roll. So let's celebrate this birthday. Willow, I love that picture. A happy 5th birthday with love from Grandma and Grandpa in Pittsburgh.
All right, and we have Alex Brown turning 9 years old coming up. Alex, birthday was actually yesterday. I've got a special note here though. He recently moved to Wichita, and we're told that his idol is our very own Doug Hetty. Watches him at least 3 times a day. On stormy days, his parents can't watch their local weather, and it has to come from Doug. That's right. They can't watch the Wichita weather. They have to watch KOAM. He's hoping one day to meet him in person. And there you go. We got a special birthday announcement for you, Alex.
Now wait a second, so that way I can go out on a ball of fire.
All right.
Here's the deal, Alex. I know you're in Wichita, my man, and a happy birthday to you. I know you're in Wichita, but I got a feeling that your family knows how to get in touch with the station. And I know a dude who may be able to facilitate this. I can't tell you his name, okay? I can't tell you his name. I just gotta say I know a dude. But anyway, this dude that I know, he knows that Hetty character. And I'm gonna get in touch with my people, and I'm gonna make this happen. We'll make this happen when you get back into town, or next time you make it into town. Doug would love that, my man. He'd absolutely love that. I'll put that together. You gotta know people, Tanya. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
So you're saying you wanna stick around and make this happen?
Nah, technology these days is amazing what you can put together when you know a guy.
I know some people too. We'll make it happen for you,
It sounded
Alex.
like a veiled threat, folks. If you heard Tanya say that right there, I want everybody as a witness. If the hay slip vehicle is just sitting there someday, but there's no hay slip around, you'd be like, well, I heard Tanya say. I'd be like, yeah, that's right. We got you, Alex. Make it happen, man.
You told me you were going to leave it, Michael. All right. The Dietzes are celebrating birthdays. We've got Samantha turning 15 years old. Happy birthday, Samantha, in Weir. And if Samantha's celebrating, that means Amber Dietz is also celebrating. Both of them have birthdays today. 28 years old for Amber.
Pardon me, folks. I'm fighting it, I promise. Boy, they got that Dietz smile to them both, don't they? Both of them do. I don't even think you need to throw up a last name there. I'd be like, I look like a Dietz smile. Charity Burgett celebrating her 40th birthday. Charity, a happy birthday in Liberal. The big 4-0. That's a good-looking cake, too.
All right, and in Lamar, Missouri, Chris Burr turning 46 years old this year. Hope you have a great one, Chris.
Chris looks like he got caught off guard. Like he wasn't supposed to have the cake and ice cream as of yet. And somebody's like, Chris, what are you doing with the cake and ice cream already? It's like, whatever, it's my birthday. John Cassell is turning 68. John, a very happy birthday to you. He is celebrating in Columbus.
And let's see, we got a little throwback picture coming up here. I love this. Susan Graham turning 74 years old this year from Erie, Kansas. This picture was actually taken in 1957, it says, with her 2 brothers. Okay. All right.
That's tremendous. I love that. They're like, hey, little sis, we got you.
Yeah.
We'll take care of you. Barbara Jones celebrating a birthday in Columbus. Miss Barbara, a very happy birthday to you.
All right, and we've got Chad and Candace Harris celebrating their 19th anniversary this year. The Harrises are celebrating in Jasper, Missouri.
Down to War Dog country, because Amanda Peterson, happy birthday to you. Patty Rogers, Patty's celebrating a birthday, and Sandra Posh with a birthday as well. Now get this, happy birthday, Sandra. Amanda, Patty, and Sandra, they're all celebrating in Miami.
All right. Diane DePlue turning another year wiser in Frontenac. Happy birthday, Diane.
Got a couple to throw on here, special ones here at the end. That is Jade. Jade's on the right. I want to point that out. That's Jade on the right. That is Liza on the left. And Jade, a very happy 11th birthday to you, kiddo. It's been marvelous to watch you grow up throughout the years. You know we love you. And there she is. 89 years old. Happy birthday to Goldie / everybody else calls her Granny. And they're having a little family birthday celebration coming up for her, I think, today. So Granny, a very happy birthday to you. We know we love you as well. A happy birthday and happy anniversary to all. Here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
We'd be out of time, so we're going to go ahead and go to break. But if you want to join the birthday club, there's the address. Do it. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A man is sentenced following a homicide investigation in Mount Vernon, Missouri. Officials say they found the body of 49-year-old Timothy Goodman of Mount Vernon in a parked car. Authorities say Michael Jones was originally charged with second-degree murder and abandonment of a corpse, but he took an Alford plea deal for voluntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 15 years to the Department of Corrections with credit for 5 years served and a $68 CVC fee. Officials sentenced a man suspected of arson in Joplin. Authorities arrested Kerry Long after he broke into a home, stole property, and then set the house on fire. Long faced charges of second-degree burglary and second-degree arson, but the arson charge was dropped. He was sentenced to 5 years of supervised probation after taking a plea deal. Well, some swimmers who had plans to go to Parsons Lake may have to find a new spot. In an effort to keep swimmers and lake users safe, officials have closed Lake Parsons in Parsons, Kansas until further notice. They say excessive erosion in recent months revealed a hazard that was placed in the beach. The city is currently in the process of removing the hazard, but have not yet released what that hazard is. A Joplin police officer severely injured in the line of duty returns to work. Officer Rick Hershey was shot after responding to a disturbance on March 8th. Corporal Ben Cooper and Officer Jake Reed died from injuries sustained during the March 8th disturbance. Hershey was hospitalized for 8 days and spent 96 days recovering at home. Hershey is now on light duty status, not cleared for full enrollment duties, and will assist with administration duties at the department. That's a check of today's top headlines. The news you need to know before you head out the door.
Just a tremendous way to start the first day of summer to even see Officer Hershey there do some sound bites with us. Officer, we greatly appreciate your time, as we know that you are extremely busy during your recovery as well. Our temperatures right now, mid-70s to, I'll say mid-60s, but eventually, we'll just wait until the noon hour gets here. We're all going to be up in the 90s. I feel about like 103 to 105 this afternoon. Higher humidity than what we had yesterday. A little bit of scattered rain beginning Wednesday morning.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making secret ingredient iced tea in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
That sounds dangerous in and of itself. Your morning news continues on KOAM. CBS Mornings next. How does an ancient relic end up at a Goodwill? Well, we're going to find out how one woman discovered the bargain of a lifetime.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, we've got Jasmine Kyle back in the studio with the best girl in the world.
Yeah, she was.
She's so
exciting.
Cute.
Stay cool out there. Be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.